My phone blew up with texts and calls, all screaming the same thing: I ruined our family vacation. My parents haven't spoken to me since, and my brother posted online blaming me for wrecking his big plans. All because I refused to be their personal bank one more time. After years of paying for their trips and parties without a thank you, I did something they never saw coming. I canceled the entire San Diego getaway flights, hotel, everything right in front of them. Before I tell you how it all went down, hit subscribe if you've ever been pushed too far by family drama. Share your story below because trust me, this one's wild. I'm Amanda Bennett, 30, just a banker trying to keep my family happy. Growing up in Chicago, we seemed like the perfect family. Sunday barbecues, group chats, and big holiday parties everyone envied. But beneath that shiny surface was a truth I couldn't ignore. I was the one footing the bill for it all, while my brother Christopher got to bask in the glow. Christopher is 34, charming, always getting his way with a smile, and his wife Jennifer stands by him no matter what. My parents, Deborah and Thomas Reynolds, who always saw Christopher as their golden boy, expected me to step up because I was the responsible one. It started small, like paying for family dinners when Christopher forgot his wallet. I didn't mind at first, family helps family, right? But soon, it snowballed into bigger things. 3 years ago, Christopher launched a coffee shop that tanked within months, leaving me to cover his debts, nearly $10,000, because my parents swore he'd pay me back. He never did. Then there were the family events, birthdays, anniversaries, even a cousin's wedding where I paid for the catering while Christopher took credit for the perfect day. My savings dwindled, and my dreams of opening my own financial consulting firm got pushed further away. Every time I tried to say no, my mother would sigh. Amanda, don't be selfish, we're family, and I'd cave, feeling like I was letting them down. My cousin Nicole was the only one who noticed the unfairness. She'd pull me aside at gatherings, whispering that I didn't owe them my life. My friend Daniel, who works with me at the bank, kept urging me to stand up for myself, pointing out how my late nights covering family expenses were costing me promotions. But it was hard to break free. My apartment became a storage unit for receipts and invoices, party rentals, travel bookings, even Christopher's car repairs I somehow ended up paying for. My fridge was stocked with leftovers from family events. I funded my calendar packed with their plans, not mine. Dating, forget it. Try explaining to a guy why you're bailing on dinner to sort out your brother's latest financial mess. The pattern got worse over time. Last Thanksgiving, I spent hours organizing a dinner for 20 people, only to find out Christopher and Jennifer had jetted off to Vegas using money I'd lent them for emergencies. My parents brushed it off, saying Christopher needed a break. My birthday last year, I canceled my plans to cover a last-minute hotel deposit for a family reunion, while Christopher posted photos from a golf weekend with his buddies. I'd bring it up, but my father would lecture me about loyalty, and Deborah would guilt-trip me with Christopher will help you when you need it. We all knew that was a lie. Work suffered too. I'm good at my job, crunching numbers, helping clients plan their futures, but I missed deadlines because I was too busy bailing out my family. My boss pulled me aside last year, warning me I'd miss a promotion if I didn't focus. I nodded, promising to do better, but then my phone lit up with another text from Jennifer, asking for just a small loan for their anniversary trip. I sent the money, hating myself for it. Every family gathering turned into another request: more money, more time, more Amanda fixing their problems. I'd leave those dinners exhausted, my bank account lighter, my resentment heavier. The final straw was coming, though I didn't know it yet. My parents started planning this big San Diego trip for my father's 60th birthday, a week of sun, a fancy yacht party, the works. I was thrilled at first, thinking we'd all share the load. But then the emails started pouring in, all addressed to me: book the flights, reserve the hotel, pay the deposit for the yacht. I checked my account, already stretched thin from Christopher's latest business idea, and felt my stomach drop. That's when I got the email that pushed me over the edge: an alert about a $500 charge I didn't recognize. My bank account was already stretched thin, and now this an unauthorized transaction I hadn't made. I dug into the details heart racing only to find it was for a weekend getaway booked by my brother Christopher. He'd used my credit card without asking for a trip with his wife Jennifer. I stared at the screen fuming, unable to believe he'd crossed that line. But deep down, I wasn't surprised. This was just the latest in a long string of betrayals, and it set the stage for the San Diego trip that would break me. My parents had been buzzing about my father's 60th birthday for months, a big celebration in San Diego complete with a yacht party, beach days, and fancy dinners. I was excited, at first thinking it'd be a chance to reconnect as a family. But when the planning started, the emails landed in my inbox: book 6 round-trip flights, reserve a boutique hotel, secure a yacht for 30 guests. All addressed to me, no one else. I checked the group chat. Christopher and Jennifer were tossing out ideas like a sunset cruise or a private chef, while my parents nodded along, not once mentioning who'd pay. It was clear Amanda, the family banker, was on the hook again. I crunched the numbers: nearly $15,000 for the trip, most of it coming from my savings. My stomach churned as I thought about my consulting firm dream slipping further away. I tried to speak up during a Sunday dinner at my parents' house, suggesting we split the costs. Mom, my mother Deborah, cut me off with a wave of her hand, saying family celebrations shouldn't be about money. Dad Thomas piled on, insisting I was good with numbers, so it made sense for me to handle it. Christopher just grinned, sipping his wine while Jennifer scrolled her phone, oblivious. I left that night feeling like a doormat, my protests brushed off as usual. Then came the itinerary, emailed by Mom like it was a done deal. I opened it expecting a shared schedule, but my name was nowhere on the fun stuff. Yacht party, Christopher, Jennifer, and my parents, with me managing vendors. Beach day, everyone but me who'd be coordinating transport. The fancy dinner at a cliffside restaurant, adults only, meaning I'd stay behind to wrap up logistics. I wasn't a guest. I was the unpaid planner, stuck with the grunt work while they enjoyed the party I'd funded. My blood boiled, but I held it in, hoping I was misreading things. That's when I confronted Christopher about the credit card charge. I called him the next day, keeping my voice steady, asking why he'd used my card for his getaway. He laughed it off, actually laughed, saying it was a mix-up, he'd pay me back soon. I pressed, pointing out I was already covering the San Diego trip, but he cut me off, claiming he and Jennifer deserved a break. "You don't get it, Amanda, you don't have a family to support," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. I hung up, shaking, realizing he saw my money as his to spend. I tried talking to my parents, hoping they'd see reason. Over coffee at their house, I laid it out, how I was drowning in their expenses, how Christopher's charge was the last straw. Mom's face tightened, and she accused me of making a fuss over nothing. "Family helps family," she said, echoing her usual line. Dad nodded, adding that I was overreacting, that Christopher was under stress. I left feeling smaller than ever, their words twisting my anger into guilt. That night, my cousin Nicole called. She'd overheard my parents talking at a family barbecue, gushing about Christopher's latest business venture they'd quietly funded. I froze when she dropped the bomb. They'd pulled the money from a family savings account I'd been contributing to for years, nearly $20,000, without telling me. Christopher had promised to repay it, but Nicole had seen his pattern before. He never did. My parents had covered for him, keeping me in the dark. I felt betrayed, not just by Christopher, but by the people I trusted most. The San Diego plans kept piling on. Emails from Jennifer demanded upgrades, better hotel suites, a private tour guide, while Christopher suggested a custom cake for Dad's birthday, sending me links that screamed expensive. I was expected to say yes to everything, my bank account bleeding out. But the itinerary was the real kicker. Every time I saw my name tied to logistics instead of guest, my resentment grew. I started dreading the trip, knowing I'd be stuck handling details while they toasted on a yacht I'd paid for. By the time the family meeting was set to finalize the plans, I was at my breaking point. My phone kept pinging with last-minute demands: book a photographer, confirm the yacht menu, all on me. I sat at my desk staring at my depleted savings, feeling like I was disappearing in my own family. That's when I realized something had to give, and it wasn't going to be my sanity. The family meeting at my parents' house was supposed to finalize the San Diego trip, but I walked in, knowing it would end differently. My laptop sat heavy in my bag, loaded with the truth I'd been swallowing for years. Deborah had set the dining table with her usual spread roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and tension thick enough to choke on. Thomas poured wine, chatting about the yacht party like it was already a done deal. Christopher leaned back in his chair, smirking, while Jennifer scrolled her phone, tossing out last-minute demands for the trip I was funding. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling with rage, and opened my laptop. This wasn't just about the $500 charge anymore, it was about everything. I started calmly pulling up my bank account on the screen. Before we confirm plans, let's talk about this, I said, showing the unauthorized charge Christopher had made for his getaway with Jennifer. His smirk faded and Jennifer's eyes darted to him. I didn't stop there. I revealed the $20,000 loan he'd taken from our family's savings money I'd poured in, never repaid, covered up by my parents. The room went silent, forks frozen midair. Then I dropped the real bomb. I'd just canceled every booking for San Diego flights, hotel, yacht, all of it. I'm done being your bank, I said, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. Christopher exploded first, slamming his hand on the table, shouting that I was overreacting, that the card charge was a mistake he'd fix. Jennifer jumped in, her voice sharp, accusing me of sabotaging the family out of jealousy. You're so selfish, Amanda, she snapped, as if I hadn't paid for their last 3 vacations. Mom, my mother Deborah clutched her napkin, her face pale, insisting I was blowing things out of proportion, that family didn't keep score. Dad Thomas stared at me, his jaw tight, muttering about loyalty and how I'd ruined his big day. Their words piled on each one a jab, but for the first time they didn't break me. I stood up, pushing my chair back, and laid it all bare. I've paid for your parties, your trips, even your failures, I said, looking at Christopher, who couldn't meet my eyes. You've taken everything, my savings, my time, my life, and you act like I owe you more. I turned to my parents, my voice cracking but firm. You let him do it, always choosing him over me, pretending it's fair. I'm not your ATM, and I'm done. The truth hung heavy, years of resentment spilling out in a flood I couldn't stop. Jennifer scoffed, crossing her arms, claiming I was dramatic, that I should be grateful for family. Christopher tried to deflect, stammering about his business pressures, but I cut him off, pointing out the yacht party. I wasn't even invited to the dinners they'd planned without me, the itinerary that treated me like hired help. Mom started to cry, pleading for me to calm down, saying we could work it out, but her tears felt like another guilt trip. Dad raised his voice, demanding I apologize, but I was past apologies. I closed my laptop, grabbed my bag, and headed for the door. You can't just walk out, Christopher yelled, his face red, but I turned, looking at each of them. My parents, my brother, his wife. I already did, I said, and left. The air outside hit my face, cool and sharp, and for a moment I felt lighter than I had in years. My phone started buzzing almost immediately, texts, calls, probably more blame, but I didn't look. I'd broken their hold, and whatever came next, I was ready to face it. The weight of what I'd done, canceling the San Diego trip, calling out Christopher's lies, walking out on my family, sat heavy in my chest, mixed with a strange sense of freedom. By the time I checked into a hotel 20 minutes from my apartment, the notifications had piled up, dozens of texts, missed calls, and a post from my brother on social media that set my blood boiling. Some people only think of themselves, he wrote, tagging me for the world to see, blaming me for ruining Dad's big day. The comments exploded, cousins, aunts, even distant friends piling on, painting me as the selfish one. I turned off my phone, heart pounding, wondering if I'd gone too far. The next morning, the fallout hit harder. My parents, my mother Deborah, and my father Thomas hadn't called or texted once. They'd ghosted me completely, their silence louder than any argument. I opened my laptop to find an email from the airline confirming the canceled flights, another from the hotel releasing the bookings, and a final one from the yacht company refunding the deposit. The San Diego trip was officially dead, and with it, the family's dream celebration. I should have felt guilty, but instead I felt a flicker of relief. For once, I wasn't the one cleaning up their mess. I stayed at the hotel for 2 days, needing space to think. The quiet was unnerving at first, no family demands, no urgent texts from Christopher, just me and my thoughts. I ordered room service, a burger and fries. I ate in bed, a luxury I'd never allowed myself on family trips, and let myself breathe. My cousin Nicole called that first night, her voice steady, checking if I was okay. "You did what you had to," she said, recounting how she'd seen my parents huddle with Christopher after I left, spinning their version of the story. She warned me about his social media post, urging me to stay strong. "They're mad because you finally said no," she added, and her words stuck with me. Daniel, my friend from the bank, showed up the next day with coffee and a no-nonsense attitude. We sat in the hotel lounge, and I spilled everything, the years of paying for their lives, the credit card charge, the family savings Christopher drained. Daniel listened, nodding, then leaned forward, his eyes serious. "You're not their ATM, Amanda, and you don't owe them your future." He shared how he'd once cut off a toxic friend who kept borrowing money, and it hit me, I'd been enabling my family's behavior for too long. Daniel's words, blunt but kind, helped me see I wasn't the villain they'd made me out to be. The messages from my family started trickling in, but they weren't apologies. Mom sent a long text heavy with guilt, claiming I'd broken Dad's heart and needed to make things right. Dad's message was shorter, colder, demanding I explain myself like I was a child. Jennifer's texts were pure venom, accusing me of jealousy and betrayal, as if I hadn't bankrolled her lifestyle. Christopher's posts kept coming, subtle digs about ungrateful siblings that racked up likes from people who didn't know the truth. I wanted to fire back, to post my side, but Nicole talked me out of it. "Don't stoop to their level," she said, and I listened, choosing silence over chaos. By day 3, I knew I couldn't go back to the way things were. I sat on the hotel bed, scrolling through my bank statements, seeing years of my savings vanish into their demands. I thought about my consulting firm dream buried under their expenses, and something shifted. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done. I started drafting boundaries: no more last-minute loans, no funding family events, no letting their guilt trips control me. It felt scary, but right, like reclaiming a piece of myself I'd lost. My parents called a week later, insisting I join them for dinner to fix this. Mom's voice was soft, promising we could start over, but I heard the same old manipulation. I declined calmly, saying I needed space. Their silence after that hurt, but it didn't break me. I moved back to my apartment, cleared out the invoices and receipts that had cluttered my desk, and felt lighter. Work became my focus. I stayed late, nailed a big client presentation, and got a nod from my boss about a possible promotion. For the first time in years, I was building something for me. Then came a text from Christopher late one night, catching me off guard. "I messed up, Amanda," he wrote, admitting he'd leaned on me too much, promising to do better. I stared at it, torn between hope and skepticism. I didn't reply, not yet. I wasn't ready to let him back in, not after everything. Nicole sent me a message the next day, saying she'd seen Christopher take down his latest post, a small sign he might mean it. But I needed more than words. I needed time. Walking away from my family that night didn't just end the San Diego trip, it changed everything. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying their weight, and I could finally focus on building a life that was mine. A month after the blow-up, I landed a major project at the bank, leading a team to overhaul a client's investment portfolio. Late nights at the office, crunching numbers and pitching ideas, felt like a lifeline, proof I was more than the family's bank. My boss noticed, pulling me aside to hint at a promotion I'd been chasing for years. I left that meeting with a spark of pride, something I hadn't felt in too long. Back at my apartment, I'd cleared out the last traces of their demands. No more invoices cluttering my desk. No more group chats buzzing with their plans. I started small, reclaiming my space. New throw pillows, a framed photo of a Chicago skyline. I loved simple things that made it feel like home. Work became my anchor, but I also reconnected with parts of myself I'd buried. I joined a book club with colleagues, laughing over novels I'd never had time to read. I even went on a date, nothing serious, but it was a reminder I deserved more than canceled plans for family emergencies. My parents, my mother Deborah and my father Thomas, stayed silent. No calls, no texts, just a void where their guilt trips used to be. It hurt, I won't lie, but their absence gave me clarity. I'd spent years chasing their approval, only to realize it came at the cost of my own worth. I wasn't ready to reach out, and maybe I never would be. Their choice to ghost me spoke louder than any lecture, and I let it be. Christopher's text from that night lingered in my mind. I messed up Amanda he'd written, promising to make things right. I hadn't replied, not because I didn't believe him, but because I needed space to heal. A few weeks later, Nicole sent me a screenshot. Christopher had taken down all his posts, blaming me, even posted a vague apology about learning from mistakes. It was a start, but words weren't enough. I saved his number but left the message unanswered, keeping the door cracked open for someday, not today. Nicole became my rock through it all. She'd text me memes to make me laugh, drop by with coffee, and remind me I wasn't alone. One evening, she sent me a photo she'd taken at a family barbecue. I'd skipped a candid shot of me from last summer, standing by the lake, smiling like I didn't have a care in the world. "This is you, Amanda," she wrote, "free and strong." I printed it, stuck it on my fridge, and looked at it whenever doubt crept in. Daniel, too, kept me grounded. We'd grab lunch at work, and he'd push me to keep my boundaries firm, sharing stories of his own family struggles to remind me I wasn't the only one. The distance from my family wasn't easy. There were nights I'd scroll through old photos, holidays, birthdays, moments when we felt close, and wonder if I'd made the right call. But then I'd remember the years of being their fixer, the savings I'd lost, the dreams I'd shelved. I wasn't cutting them off forever, but I was choosing myself, and that choice felt powerful. I started therapy not with someone like Dr. Sarah from the stories I'd heard, but a local counselor who helped me unpack the guilt. She taught me that saying no wasn't betrayal, it was survival. Work kept moving forward. The project I led closed with a glowing review from the client, and my boss confirmed the promotion, senior analyst, with a raise that let me start rebuilding my savings. I opened a separate account for my consulting firm Dream, dropping in small deposits each month, a promise to myself I'd keep. I wasn't there yet, but I was closer, and that was enough. A few months later, I heard through Nicole that my parents had hosted a small dinner for Dad's birthday. No yacht or fanfare, just close family. I wasn't invited, and that stung, but I didn't let it pull me back. Christopher sent another text, shorter this time, asking to talk. I still didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. Maybe one day we'd have that conversation, maybe not. For now, I was okay with the quiet. Looking back, canceling that trip wasn't just about the money, it was about breaking a cycle that had drained me for years. I learned that family isn't about who you owe, but who respects you. I found strength I didn't know I had, and I'm still figuring out what that means. If you've ever had to stand up to your family to draw a line that hurts but sets you free, I want to hear your story. Share it below, because trust me, you're not alone. And if this resonated, hit subscribe. It might just help you find your own way forward.